Ah,
yeah. That was right next to the Costa Coffee, isn't it?
That's the one.
Yeah. Good one. I know that very well. I used to go in there when I was a student because my dad was head of. He was like the approved person at Heart. Like it was before it was called Just Mortgages. It was called something else. And I used to go in there and eat my lunch back in the day. Yeah,
preferential treatment.
100%. Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Are we live? Are we?
We're live. We're live on LinkedIn.
I've connected mine to it so you can get more, but I don't know if that's going to work or not. We'll see.
Do you know what I'll do?
Oh,
I'll
turn live on my Instagram and my Facebook and LinkedIn.
Oh, cool.
I'll turn myself off because I'm definitely not speaking or doing anything. So a mystery guest was randomly turning up.
That's
Gate crashing.
Yeah, right.
That's the best way.
Oh, good.
But yeah, nice one, Ash. Appreciate you joining us.
No, me too.
So yeah, basically what this session is just to, for anybody watching, is to get fees is a big subject, isn't it? I think whenever you post about, whenever I post about, whenever anybody in the mortgage world posts about fees, everybody's on it, and a lot of.
I think it's been like our most popular topic ever. Like even when we have, it's like the easiest win. It's like it's the easiest and quickest win for everybody in some shape or form, you know. And it's just amazing seeing the contrast as well in what people are prepared to ask for. Forget the actual amount of it. It's almost like, when are we asking? Like, what percentage? And they don't even know that they're allowed to ask for that stuff. It's just kind of like, well, it's always been this way, so let's just do it that way.
Yeah. People have a lot of what's the word? Just apprehension, don't they? And it's a similar thing to what I think everyone has. It's a mindset shift of being, because I had the same when every time, obviously I'm not a mortgage broker, but it's the same thing in terms of increasing your fees and what you charge.
Yeah,
you have a thing in your mind which is like, I can't charge that. No one's going to pay that. But it's breaking through that and having that mindset to I think equipping yourself, your own mind with your kind of value, the fact that you provide in a good service. And I think what that comes down to is, for me, is specializing, becoming a specialist in a specific industry, in a specific niche, and becoming a really kind of valuable advisor, specifically for one specific customer profile.
Yeah,
that's where the value is created.
It is. Yeah, fees are an interesting one in our industry, in the mortgage industry in general, because there's actually so many ways you can do it as well. That's one thing I've definitely learned. Like, it depends on how you do it. I think with fees, I mean, because you do a lot with wealth stuff as well. Is that like wealth advisors? Do you have?
Yeah.
Because it's all a bit different. It's interesting because I think with fees, there's always this thing. First of all, that people are scared to charge. You get that a lot.
Yeah.
And then you get people who are then scared. They're like layers to it. Then they're scared to charge. If they overcome that, then it's like, when do they? At what point do they charge?
Yeah.
And so then you get it. They're charging at completion, which is bad from a business perspective. It's bad from a cash flow perspective. It's bad but it's also bad. So it's bad for the client, because the client doesn't really understand. Effectively, if I can pull out, and I always say this to clients when I work with them, if I can pull out at any point and not be charged, then that thing was free. That's the way I look. That's the way it is. It is. If I can pull out at just before I exchange contract, then everything you did up to that point was free. So I just don't see. So I think so then you have this thing of, okay, now you got to charge at the points of like at least application and minimum offer, but really application. And then it's like it's a whole complex thing. And if you talk about it, you get shot down big time.
Well, it kind of plays into especially in the Western world, you can't talk about money.
No, exactly.
We're not allowed to talk about it. So what we do is we don't talk about it. Then when we have challenges or problems with it, everyone's like, well, why didn't you talk about it? It's like, well, hold on, wait a minute. I can't have it both ways. Like, before, I wasn't allowed to talk about it. Now I want to talk about it, and you're all still mad at me.
Yeah.
It doesn't really help anybody there.
No, it's a really strange one. But I've definitely come to nuance on it. Like, so like, and I did actually did a podcast on it about a month or two ago, and I had quite a few people message me off the back of it, because I had like some clients who had actually his client who we've all worked with. I won't say the name on here because obviously it's a hard thing to do, but I'll tell them off air. And she's wonderful, she's brilliant. But she was saying she had this thing of she's been doing it for 20 years, and she's got this backlog of some clients have got fees, some don't have fees. It's really tough. It got me thinking, but I do think that I've got one client right now who we're actually doing a fee-free model, but we're doing but they're a weapon at selling insurance. So again, the way that I look at it with fees personally is you make your income how you make your income, whatever your business model is. So that's what I'd say for anyone who's listening, because I used to be very blanketed. It's like pick a niche, all that type of stuff. It's very blanketed, but I think it's nuanced to the individual. If you're somebody who's got traffic coming through that you can, and you want to see 20, 30, do 30 mortgages a month for you if you want to.
Yeah.
And you're very good at selling insurance. And it was interesting. Anish, who's one of my clients, longest client, he was on said to me, he was like, I'm not increasing my fees, because he had this one client specifically. So I was like, increase your fees, increase your fees, increase your fees. And he was like, this one guy, he said, this guy actually left a review and said, phenomenal service. He just to charge more. That was actually like his review. and I said to him, I said, you charge more. And he sat down and he said, Ash, he said, that guy, he said charge more. He said, it was like a 1.8 million pound mortgage. He said, I got paid like a massive fat prop fee on that. He said, he took out insurance premiums of £873 a month. He said, which made me, I'll tell you what that would have made him. So £873 a month. And I hadn't thought of it this way. So 873, just do it times 24. So that's nearly £21,000 in commission he made of this guy. And he said, I'm not gonna increase it by an extra 200 quid because I just made an extra 21,000. And I hadn't thought of it that way. So there's an element, I think, of fees, which is you charge what you're worth, but I think you then have to try and then find better ways of making more money, because you're stepping over the £50 notes to pick up the pennies if you're trying to keep inching the fee up. I think if your fee's below 500, you need to take a serious look at yourself and fix that.
Yeah.
But then the real money then is made
in the other
stuff. The lifetime value of the client, the LTV, that's the golden thing that we want to be aiming for. Fees, obviously, that is a part of that, but it's not the only part of it. The thing that you want to focus on is the LTV, the lifetime value of that client.
Yeah, it's
absolutely. And I think it kind of plays into the whole story and narrative around, like what you're saying, Ash, about making your money the way you do. Because if you're trying to do something that doesn't sit with you, it's eventually going to come off the rails.
Yeah.
You're eventually going to have a problem with it. You're going to eventually something's going to break, and it will more than likely be at your end rather than the customers. And then nobody wins, So you've actually got to, I think, almost and it depends who sees this and watches it. It goes, like you say, you could almost have some benchmarks. If you're charging less than this, then you need to straight away, the first thing is up your fees. If you're only charging at this point because you've only just moved up your fees, then you need to have a look at it. And then, like you say, once you've ticked all those boxes, you're then looking at how do I make this more valuable to me long term, rather than sort of going short term and potentially screwing yourself over in the longer game.
Yeah, it's also the thing I see with fees you do have is if you charge. So if you do a nervous kind of break of like, okay, I'm going to not charge right now because I need to get some business through the door. The problem you have is with mortgages is that it's a compounding vehicle. The business, it's every 2 to 5 years, they're going to keep coming back again and again. And whatever you did with them, they're going to vaguely remember what that was.
Yeah.
And not just that, they're going to refer and they will say what you charge. So that they'll go, he didn't charge a fee, or it was only £200. It was so I always say to people, like, whatever your fee is, you've got to set it out straight away. And then the other thing, I remember having a call with one of my clients who I worked with, who he'd been in the industry for, I think I put it on the thing, 20 odd years, 22, 23 years. But he charges, was it 299, I think it was, or 250, or something like that, £250. And I said, oh, how much you charge? I said, £250. I said, how long have you done that for? And he said, oh, we've always charged £250. And I was like, actually, I think it was 199. It was 199. He said, we've always charged 199. I said, okay, cool. I said, has it has inflation gone up in the last 30 years?
20 years.
20 years? And he was like, all right. And I said, so that 199,
It's not the same.
that's not the same thing. Now, what's really, and I said to him, I said, what's really interesting with that is, go back 20 years, most people didn't charge.
Yeah.
So you were a pioneer of knowing your own value, right?
And then stayed there.
I said, you've just eroded yourself down. And he was like, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. And it was one of those moments in his face when he's like, oh, no. Now he didn't increase the fee because the problem is that's that fear then of like, and I don't think most of the time people don't really care.
Well, look, this is the conversation we've had, isn't it, in the past? Like, very rare. And I don't think we worked with anybody who increased their fees and anybody came back and went, what are you doing? Or even in the first, look, if I'm paying somebody for a service, I'm not asking them. I'm paying you to do it because I can't do it. Yeah. So I'm going to trust you that that's how much you get paid. Bear broke a window downstairs last week. Guy comes out, measures it up. It's going to cost you this amount of money. Brilliant. I'm not going to go, well, wait a minute. I'm going to go around and ring around and see, because there or thereabouts is going to be where I'm at, you know, and I trust you that that's your job and that's how much you're going to charge me for it. And I think that's where the confidence comes in, isn't it? It's going just that's where I am. And I'm paying you for that service. I'm basically paying you to solve a problem for me. Yeah. And if you can do it quickly with some more bonuses, cover my insurance, make me get my wife or my husband to stop moaning at me because I've not done it, that's the problem you're actually solving. Yeah. So the fee almost becomes like, it just becomes movable, doesn't it? You get to play around with it far more than I think a lot of the people we've worked with. They don't give themselves enough credit. You know, I think it comes back to they don't value themselves, definitely don't value themselves. They don't see it as something that they can deliver on potentially. And they usually sell themselves massively short than what they're actually providing.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Yeah. There's a thing that I was actually talking to this someone on Monday. So it's Thursday, aren't we? I'm losing track of my days today. So it was on Monday, and I was saying that the thing with a fee is a really good mechanism for a client journey. You've got to use when you take a client on a journey, it's the basic storytelling structure. So I don't know how much you guys know about storytelling structure, but you've got this thing of like, there's world A, something bad happens. And this is it ruins every film for anyone who's watching this or listening to this. You'll never be able to watch a film properly again, or a TV series. But this is like in life. So world A, everything's wonderful. What happens then is that something happens and we move into world B. And world B is the challenge we need to overcome. You have to come and overcome whatever it may be. So Rocky 3 is the best example. Is it when Clubber Lang knocks him out in that first one? It's like he's really rich, really famous. Bang, he gets hit, knocked down to the ground. Now he's got the whole, there is no tomorrow and all of that stuff that there's nothing to do. And then what happens at the end is you slay the dragon, you conquer the demon, whatever it may be, and you exist in a world which is A/B, meaning you come back to A, but you're changed because of B. And
because of what happened in B.
What happened. That, whether you do that in a selling insurance, that happens in a micro, like in like a 5-minute conversation, that's effectively what you have to take people through. And what people don't get with fees, and there's a reason with fees, is there has to be a clear point for any client. And I do it's a client and a prospect. A prospect is somebody who's coming to talk about working with you. They are in stage A.
Yeah.
But there have to be a point where they have to move from a prospect to a client, which is from stage B. And there has to be something that signifies that.
It tips them across.
And that is a fee is one of the easiest things to do with that. Is, at the point of, if you want to continue, if you want me to do the research.
Yeah, it's going to cost you.
Just a £99 administration fee to do the research. Straight away, we're now we're moving that prospect into a client, which is from A to B.
And sometimes that sometimes can be a gift because they actually needed to take that step. I had a similar conversation with Sarah last night, and we were talking about something. She was like, why would I not make the decision now? Like, having this conversation with you, Ross, means we're going to push the button on something tonight rather than kick it down the road for 2 or 3 months and then have to reconsider everything again in 2 or 3 months. It's almost like you needed the permission to do it. And if that's what people, when their fees can do, it almost allows them, like you said, I love that sort of story, transition from A into B, because it doesn't feel like anyone's been duped. It doesn't feel like anyone's been taken along on a ride. It's just like, this is where we are, and I'm making it real for you now. Yeah. And the fee is a nice, clear.
Once you're in, isn't it? It's the way you're jumping in. It's all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like that's you sign on the dotted line. You know,
commitment, isn't it? It's a show of commitment, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we don't, and that's why I say with fees, I do think that they are good, but I do think I'm getting softer in my old, not softer, maybe wiser in my old age of it. Because previously I would be like, anyone who doesn't charge a fee is a loser, and but I'm less of it now. I think it, but I do think, and I'd be interested to hear both your guys' take on this. I do think whoever, if you're having a problem with the fee in your head, have a bit of a long, hard look at yourself in the mirror, spend some time and say, why?
Yeah, what is the problem?
Yeah, what's the problem?
Yeah.
Because if you genuinely on your hand on heart believe it's unethical to charge for mortgage advice, which by the way is your right to do that. If you don't feel it is and you don't want to charge, absolutely fine. But if it is purely because you think you might lose some business and you're scared, and if I said to you, you're doing 10, 15, 20 mortgages a month this month, but you can get an extra £500 on all of them. So let's say you're doing 20, you make an extra 10 grand a month, or that you're doing 20, but maybe now you do 10, but you do make that an extra 5 grand up front. If you hand on heart without your own bias and kind of hubris and everything getting in the way, if you go, would you actually take that? If the answer is yes, then you need to learn how to do it. And I think I think most of the time we sit on our moral high ground, and it's this idea, it's similar to like perfectionism. When people say I'm perfectionist, I'm saying no, you're just a procrastinator. Perfectionist means you haven't done anything.
I'm waiting for the perfect time. It's never. I think that point about it goes back to what we said at the beginning, though, isn't it? About making the money the way that sits right with you. Because if like you say, if you're too and we used to call it, if you're not authentic and not real, it will come out in the wash at some point. And there will. And I think that's a really good one talking about.
Because I do have a client who doesn't charge a fee, and I always say to him, my marketing is always charge, and you guys know this better than anything else, is my marketing. And I say to my clients, I'm like, who I work with versus what my marketing is are two very different things. I have a very clear avatar on who I market to, and I will call out anybody who's not charging fees. I think you're dumb. I think you're stupid, because that is the lion's share of the person I'm trying to talk to. The people I actually work with, once you go and sit down with me, I'm like, okay, cool, let's look at your business model. But we're not going to pull something away. If you know, like, I'm not going to go, when you come work with me, now you have to do it this way. I'm like, okay, cool, let's look at it nuanced. What's the problem? And I think there are many business models where mortgage fees genuinely are not needed. New build is one of them. You can't, if you go into new build, it's just an unwritten rule. You do not charge fees. So if you come in there and you start charging fees, you will just get obliterated. And that's one of them. Like I said, this one guy, he doesn't charge. And I was like, that's fine. He doesn't charge at all, and he cleans up, but he's very, very good at selling insurance. So because of that, he is in an area where everyone charges, and his whole marketing is based around, I think it's unethical to charge. You shouldn't charge. I'm telling him to push that more, because I'm like,
that's his USP, isn't it?
100%. It's that whole thing of the Alex Hormozy. I know you both like him, and it's that offer so good you feel stupid saying no. And 100%. That if you're going to make, if your average case size is going to be 2, 3, 4 grand, if you don't charge a fee because you're an absolute weapon at doing insurance, well, then you just take the L on the fee.
Yeah, because you know you're going to catch up.
Not many people aren't that, though. It's just on that.
I'm saying. This is the thing.
Most aren't.
Most of the people that we've worked with or spoken to in the past about around this, especially with the fees, have always been on the, I've not got enough clients, but the ones I've got, I'm not making enough money. I feel like I'm doing all the work and not getting paid. Like,
they need to charge a fee.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you're the guys who straight away up your fee and collect it at certain points along the way. And that is just like, it's just such an easy win for them to build that momentum, to then get to the place where they go, right, okay, now I'm doing all this and that's taking care of it. Now who am I actually going after? But they're kind of that feast and famine, aren't they? They've got so much going on that they're literally leaving money on the table, and they don't know why. I think that's a big one as well. It's the classic, well, it's kind of always been done this way. Well, cool. When the rest of your guys are actually making money that you're not taking, you get to have that conversation and go, well, I stuck to my guns.
I had one of my clients is a really, really successful guy on TikTok, like really successful on TikTok. And we were having this kind of conversation a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, fees is what we're having. He's struggling with it. And he's like, and he's getting 20 leads a week booking into his diary from TikTok. They're hard. And the problem is it's trying to now weed out who are the good ones and who are the bad ones, because the problem with TikTok is you get rubbish leads. You get good leads. Some of them are good, but you got to kiss a lot of frogs to find a prince. It's not brilliant.
The volume's there, isn't it?
Exactly. The volume's there, but everything else. And I said to him, I said, you need to charge. I said, not need to. I said, one of the things we can look at never need to do anything. But what you could look at is charging a conversation fee, you know, like an actual consultation fee.
Absolutely.
And he was like, no. And he's really quite resistant to it. Not in a bad way. He's wonderful. We're kind of working on it. But he said, I said, well, I know, first of all, I know lots of people who do charge that. That's not a new thing. And he said, oh, I don't know anyone who charges that. And I said, okay, cool. I said, well, who do you know? And he was going through them all. And I said, okay, so of any of those, how many of them are technically one of the top influencers in the UK on TikTok for mortgages? And he was like, well, none of them. I said, exactly. So anything they tell you is it's null and void. It's not relevant.
Yeah,
I said, because then none of them have got 20 people booking in their, because the issue he's having is people are booking in and he's not got time to do anything else because the people are, and I said, so you need to you can't go down a path that everybody else has gone down if you are different. You have
we
to
had this conversation. We had this conversation with Jenny. She won't mind us saying, but like she was getting so many.
But she's a similar type of character with that.
Yeah, and we had to put in the questions, didn't we? Like it's almost like as you send I remember doing it via the Calendly link, didn't you? You used to be able to ask the questions, and it's almost like you're pre-qualifying them before they even get through the door. Now, if for your man it needs to be a fee, already you'd rather have 4 people or 2 people that have paid a fee to get to speak to you than have to deal with 20 others and only one of them's actually useful.
And he's getting a lot of no-shows. That was his thing. He was getting a lot of no-shows. And I said, well, you know, would it feel like bad if, you know, if even if it's just nominal, 50 quid, 30 quid, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a lot.
Yeah.
There has to be enough that there's skin in the game. What we said before, like AB. Do you know, it's that AB thing. It's like you have opted into something, but there's so many people.
They're closer to want to engage with you by paying that fee. Like you say, they've stepped from A to B. That kind of skin in the game thing is massive.
Yeah, the more hoops you can make people jump through, the better the quality of the lead is going to be, isn't it?
Yeah. There is the tipping point, though, isn't there?
That's where it's too much.
There's a balance.
Yeah, there is a tipping point where, like, I know, like
playing with the variables to find that balance. I think this is starting off with not a lot.
I had it with qualifying for my own stuff. Like, so I opened my diary up in January. I've had like a waiting list for like a year and a half, and I had to bite the bullet of like, okay, look, I'm going to have to probably work a bit more because it's getting to the point where there was like hundreds of people on this list, and like 2 or 3 people leave, maybe 6 people leave a year. So like one every other month. And if you've got, and I'm having like maybe 20 people join a month to the list, but 6 are leaving a year. So like and at the beginning, that's a really great ego thing until it becomes a problem, because then you're like, I'm never going to actually be able to do this. And so I had to bite the bullet on open up my diary, working a bit earlier, working a bit later, open up about 15, 20 extra slots. So it was good. Anyway, the reason why I was saying that is, you talk about too much, is I was like, I only really, though, because as is my kind of brand has grown, I get a lot of people who are way too early to deal with me, way too early, can't afford it. Yeah. And so I did a kind of a booking link, Calendly link that routes them and kicks them out if they're not. If it's too strict, though, I was like, I kid you not, I felt depressed. I was in January and I was like, no one was getting through. That was like, it was literally like no one was getting through. And I was going, because I opened it up and I was like, email my waiting list and the whole thing. And I was like, and it was crickets for like a week. I was like, no one's booking in. Like, this is like, I genuinely, and it was a real like hit to the ego. I was thinking, no, and then I looked at the form and it was like 120 people have tried to come through, but have been kicked out. And I was like, oh no.
You're not letting them in.
So, and then the worst one is they're like, I can't get, and so I had to redo it. So now there is a tipping point of like, how do you, and then and just when you have one, like I like, for example, don't want to work, I don't know how to work with people unless they turn over like 100 grand. But then like my best clients, they come in, they're like, oh, well, Ash, when you worked with me, I was making 40,000. And now, and I'm like, oh yeah, I wouldn't have you then. And and it's this is really awkward,
isn't it?
And that's what we say with clients. It's like, as a broker, even me, I struggle with it, and everyone's right. It's knowing what's your line of like, I won't take them on if they are not ready at this point, and I won't. And I think
it's almost like the red flags, isn't it? It's the red flags that go, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to work with that person. It's like, and again, we're just trying to help them get to the answer yes or no as quick as possible, aren't we?
Yeah,
so that's it. And that goes both for the client, but also for the broker as well. Let's help them be able to make that decision. Do I want to work with this person? Yes. And like I said, you are going to have to kiss a lot of frogs. But as you do that, you're then perfecting the system, aren't you? Then, okay. And there'll be seasons with this. There'll be seasons throughout the year, throughout your development. The longer you're in the game, you'll start attracting and talking to different people. And like I say, you have your unicorn clients who come and find you. You know, they're the ones that come and knock on your door. Ross, I need to work with you. The other ones are going to be, here's my niche, and I'm going to have a couple either side.
Yeah.
And it's going, right, okay, what risk reward am I going to have there? We're taking that person on and know that they're worth that for that little bit more grief, or they don't pay me enough. So actually, I don't want to work with those people.
Yeah.
And
I think I always find it's like taking people on who I think if they're not earning X amount, I don't want to ethically take money from them at the point of like, so like 50,000, for example, with my fees at 50,000, not me. I mean, like they're 50,000. It's about right. Like, so minimum, you know, like, so like, I know, whereas I don't want to be taking money off their kids' table to their food, but there is an issue of if someone wants to do it. And that's the thing, because there are some of my best clients are ones who are like, Ash, I'm doing 25, 30,000 a year. And I need this. And I'm like, oh, well, because I want, and that's the hardest ones.
Yeah. But again, I think that goes back to what we were saying about people making their money the way that sits right with them. You know, if that keeps coming up for you, at some point you just get to go no. But
I do now, but then you do think, oh, you know, and I think that's the issue. And I think that's the same thing, by the way, with brokers. It's like, if you've got a client, I think it's having that hard line of like, okay, who do I not deal with, and turn them away. It's fine to do that. It's absolutely fine to turn a client away. I don't know why we don't.
Because we live in a society who struggles to say no to stuff. That's what I mean. We struggle. It's like
we want to help people at the end of the day, don't we? But I think the priority is helping ourselves. That we've got to be true to ourselves, and I think serving the clients that you're destined and kind of focused on means that you're providing a better service for them anyway, because you're tailoring your service around them, and the more you do of them, the better you get at them, the more experience you get at, in terms of the broker side of things, knowing which lenders to go to.
To
get them
it just makes it more valuable. I mean,
it makes you more valuable. So, and you're a specialist at serving that one specific customer profile. So when another customer profile comes and it's like, I can't really help you, and that is the reality of the situation, because they're not going to be as good a help because they're focused on serving that other specific customer profile. So they're better at that. So that other customer profile is going to be like, they're going to have to work harder, and they're going to have to come out of what they're used to doing. So it's going to mean that they're not going to provide as good a service. So it's
I've actually started putting in messages now. When I ask someone a question, I then put in brackets, no is an acceptable answer. Because honestly, and that's just something I've learned. I mean, we get to ask for everything we want in life. Like, we literally get to ask for everything we want in life. We just have to be prepared for the answer to be no, and that be okay. Like, it's not personal, it's just business, or it's just life. So I know when I'm asking questions,
saying no unapologetic.
So when I ask questions, so like I'm picking up a new car next week, and I text the guy this morning, can you send me this thing? I knew he was going to have to go and take a picture of something. I was like, I just put brackets. No is a perfectly acceptable answer. And he was like, actually, I can't do it today, but tomorrow will be good. I was like, no props. And it almost gives them permission to go, no, and that be okay.
I think there's one of my kind of like cheat codes, and this is kind of an advisor cheat code. It's a business cheat code, I think. And it's not, but it's so simple, is everyone's always looking for like that sales trick. You know, how do I close more deals? And do you know what's really interesting is, and I do it now, like, it's just like radical honesty, pure, brutal honesty. And I've been adopting that for about a year now. And it's funny, you can really not offend people if you're honest. Because if it's pure, if you're genuinely real about it. I had a call yesterday with Discovery Call, and I was like, I didn't feel bad. I said to him, I'm kind of ripping into you right now. I was like, that's rubbish, that's terrible, don't do. But it was meant in the right way. He signed up. But it was one of those things where that happens all the time, where I'm noticing it's like insurance, it's fees. It's if you make it, if you, and I always say to people, if your goal is to just get the business, they'll smell it. They can tell. Bullshit, but if it is actually, I genuinely don't think this is the right thing for you to do, and this is what, then people will actually buy into it. And that's what you say about that saying no. I'll have people when they come on, and like I had this guy yesterday, and he was great, and he said he's signed up. We haven't had a first session yet, but he was like, he got on the call and he was like, I don't want to do protection. He said, look, stop. He said, before I go in, I don't want to do protection. And I was like, I let him carry on. And then I said to him, I was like, if you work with me, you will do protection, because that's non-negotiable. And he was like, okay. And then he was like, maybe I just don't really know what to do. I was like, yeah. And then we got to,
That's
but it was that,
probably-
but
yeah.
it was that. And he was a phenomenal guy. This guy's he's like a
honest advice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Honest advice is what people need, even if it's not what they want to hear, or it's going to push them out of what they know when they're comfort zone.
It's like video. Like, I believe you should be on video. Everyone should be on video. I do not believe. And so when people come to me and say, oh, I want to do it without being on video, I'm like, well, then don't work with me.
Yeah.
And what I will say oftentimes, people will say, don't work with me. I said, and then I'll see you in 2 years when you've tried everything else, it's failed, and you'll come back to me.
Well, this is the
and I'll be 25% more expensive than we are right now. Like,
from
it's
a relationship, yeah, from a relationship perspective, you want to be able to say no honestly, and then realize that great, you've been honest, because you don't know who they're going to go and speak to. You know, they don't know who they're going to recommend. If you burn bridges, this is the thing with relationships, isn't it? Sometimes we're so quick to burn a bridge. And I'm like, you never know when you're going to need that bridge. Like, you never know. And if you're doing it just to spite your face, that's not serving anybody. And to be able
look
to
at us on here, like, I mean, I've been part of your group. We launched it all together. I mean, we still chat. We're still not, you know what I mean? You don't burn. We're here today.
No,
you don't burn those bridges. We're all still in the game. Everybody
5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like 5 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
COVID, wasn't it? 2020.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that people don't get in general with, and that's why you say, that's where I think, if to bring it back to kind of the fee concept, I think that's the thing is, if you're radically open about it, a lot of the times, what I think with the fees, just don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah,
just it's part of it, and pack it in with everything else. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I want to kind of, I'd love to know your take on, because we've got fees, AI, and more. So I'd love to hear you segue to some AI stuff with Dan, if possible, at some point, because that'll be cool.
Yeah, sure. Well, what kind of stuff are you getting into? Are you using much in your process?
Yeah, because I know you're really moving into it, so it'd be interesting to hear your takes. But yeah, I use it a lot. I think I would be lost without it if I didn't have it every day. I'd be interested to hear what Ross thinks, being Mr. Hippie Woo Woo Man, what Dan thinks about being like Mr. Automate and save everything, do as much as you can with as little effort. So like, there's like two different things.
Ross is really getting into it, aren't you, Ross?
No, I honestly, yeah, I even find myself saying, but it's not quite, I don't use ChatGPT as much, but I use Perplexity.
Yeah, so, that's really good.
Yeah, so instead of using the term, I Googled it, I perplexed it, or I chat, because I do use it a lot. What I do though, I do use it as a nice reference, again, helps me get to a piece of information quicker, or some advice quicker. I then get to make a decision on it myself. I then I'm still not just going, just do it and run with it. I'm like saying, help me disseminate this information quicker, help me get to my own conclusions quicker, and then I'll formulate a way to do it. I find it's very, very helpful to bring my ideas together. I've not really found an area where it's not been useful, to a certain degree. Again, I'm not handing them the keys to the front door, but I think it's, to sit here and go, it's not going to be part of everything, is just insane. It's only going to become more evasive, I guess. But I think, like anything, as long as it's adding value in, great. If it then becomes something that you're starting to worry about, or you're letting it have control rather than the other way around, then you have to start to moderate it. And I think there's plenty of other stuff you can be working to. But no, I'm a big advocate of it. I'm definitely not in the weeds as much as Dan, because I just don't use it in the same capacity. But again, I love seeing, there's a new way to do that, or I can use this. How will that fit into what I'm currently about? Yeah. Rather than it could just be a massive distraction for me. So I have to be like, no, time out. Like, it's serving me right now. Let's leave it there. I don't need to expand on it anymore right now.
What about you, Dan? How are you using it? Because obviously I see lots of yours. I'll talk to you about mine, but also, just so you know, just so people know, yes, we are this isn't pre-recorded. I've got my clients texting me going, I'm watching your live right now. And I was like, yeah. Yes. And then he put, is it pre-recorded? And I said, no. And he went, oh no, I can see you typing.
It's not pre-recorded now, since you've just texted him and you're showing the text on.
He knows that. So he's like, look, I'm on TV. Sorry, Dan. Yeah, how are you using it?
So a lot of ways, but one of the main beneficial ways, I think, because I've just set up a new business since this year, doing, like we mentioned, the AI, the wealth side, and focusing a lot on AI, obviously doing lead gen, but also AI implementation for wealth firms and advisors. But a big part of what it's helped with that process is like this foundational kind of strategy side. It's like I've been using Claude for it. I've been using ChatGPT as well, but Claude specifically for just like I said, foundational stuff. Just it's like having a fucking really high value consultant which knows a shit ton more about this stuff than me. I've got no qualms of admitting that.
Yeah.
And it's just there, and it's 24/7 available to ask it really nuanced, detailed questions about your plan and your business, because obviously you feed it that information, you train it, and you have an ongoing conversation. So it's got a context window, which is like a memory. So it memorize this stuff, so it knows it. And so it's got all this information on your plans and your business, and you can just ask it, keep coming back to it and asking it questions. What do you suggest we do with this? This is my idea with this, and it'll come back with a really good answer, and it just all the kind of reasoning as well, which is like whether it talks through as to why it's giving you that specific answer and the reason why it's giving it. But yeah, it's as I say, that side of it for me has been the thing I think that's been most instrumental in terms of that specific use case, in terms of setting up a new business and like say the strategy behind it and the foundational kind of stuff.
It is really good. Like I use it every day, completely. One of the things you said about the context stuff, because Claude's so much better because it's got more tokens, isn't it? So you can have a lot more. You can have a lot more in it. You can effectively write a book from it. It's kind of crazy.
It's got a big context. Like you say, I think Claude's better for writing as well.
Yeah. I use Gemini for search stuff. So what I use Gemini to find the content ideas, and then I use ChatGPT. So how I use it, I use it a lot. Everything people see from me will be AI in some way or another. So like the way I use it, I do one podcast a week now, and that isn't AI. That's just me sat in here, and I was sitting here on a Saturday drinking non-alcoholic beer, and I just kind of talk a load of rubbish for 40 minutes about a topic. Like, to be fair, kind of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I mean, like, like just kind of talk about fees. What do I think about fees? What do I just kind of shoot in the kind of the breeze with it? And then I take that transcription, and then that transcription, I have like lots of different prompts I use, and I get them to turn into multiple different post structures. And then those post structures, I use a custom GPT that is like me, that's got all of my every transcription I've ever done. So it's like me, and then I get it to write me scripts for videos, and then I'm talking to you now on a teleprompter. So everything I do then is all teleprompted. So all pre-recorded and scripted, and it's been a game changer. And even in editing, I use it in editing. So even my eyes, as some people know this, will learn the tricks. So like I use the Descript eye contact. Have you seen that? So like it's really good. A lot of my clients use that now. But I've found even having a teleprompter and looking directly into the camera, you still can see the eyes moving as it's reading. So if you put on the AI kind of edit eye contact thing, all my video instantly, it doesn't look like that. So it's just like
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh my God, it's amazing. So like I am reading it and looking into a camera, so my eyes aren't directly on it. But you can actually look like, I've got a lot of my clients who are like, they'll just read it off a screen and then just press the button. It's phenomenal. Like every video, like every one of my reels, if you go on my Instagram, every one of those has got that on. You wouldn't be able to know. You can kind of tell when someone's using it because they stare a bit too hard. Like they're looking into your soul. It is a little bit like, but like other than that, it's got a lot better. So I use it for everything. I'd be lost without. I use it as well. A little cheat hack with this one. Some people listen to this and they're going to go, my clients, and they go, I know, now it's me now. But it's like, if I've got a situation that I can't really, let's say there's an email I want to send that's maybe like telling them to get lost or whatever. Like if it's an awkward email, or maybe something you want to, like not politically, because it is in big politics, but like politically within the industry, you want to make sure you get it right. Or LinkedIn comments is a great one for this. I will always write the comment out. I'll say what I actually feel. So if I think I'm like, piss off, you absolute and then I'm like, put this in and make it don't make it passive aggressive, make it happy, and then make it so like, and I always do that, because there's nothing worse in our industry than saying the wrong thing. It's too small. We've seen a story of that recently, which we won't go into with people, but we would have all seen it. Is this kind of like you say the wrong thing in the wrong place, and it just
it's
and
the
you can't bring
classic.
it back.
It's the classic. Don't send the email when you're annoyed. It's like
it's
like draft it, go to sleep, read it in the morning. Do I need to send it? Yeah, cool. You know,
it's so much better with that because you can prompt it. We would do it with different, like, you know, family members and things when you're like, oh, I'm not sure I want to say this to, like, not in a bad way, like family members who you're close with, but you're like, I don't want them to come across wrong, or I use it for loads of stuff like that. Like, but what I would say, and I think you said it before, is like the content is always from that original podcast. So there's always, it's not just, what do you think about this, and write me a post. It's always written from your perspective. Once a week, a 40-minute kind of deep dive conversation, you know. So I do, or a conversation with myself, I guess. That's a bit sad, but like it is one of those where like, but it is that. So I think it's phenomenally powerful AI, and I think, as you said, it's done now. We're in it. And I always find as well, when people make me laugh when they go, oh, and you'll know this with what you're doing, Dan, with the wealth space. The concept I always say to people when they say, oh, it's not that good, and I'm like, it is the dumbest it'll ever be right now. Like right now, like, so you might think that, and that's what I say about the eye contact thing. Like, I have seen that eye contact. I actually consult for an AI company, a fintech company that's AI, and the stuff that they can do is like Skynet freaky stuff.
Well, look, even if we go back 5 years ago when we started this whole thing together, I remember you talking about how, was it YouTube that would scan the
the cloud AI cloud data,
So this was back then. So we're not even in the same ballpark.
Oh yeah, they do that now at such a rate. Like it's insane. You know, like I always think about, like, when I was actually thinking about this yesterday. I'm a big nerd and a big Star Wars fan, and I was thinking how I remember, like, Mandalorian, they brought in Luke Skywalker for the first time and they de-aged him. They de-aged Mark Hamill, and it was like this big deal. And I thought that was during COVID. Now I got Tom Cruise playing a guitar, singing some rap. Like, you got everything. Like, anybody you want at any point is unrecognizably there. Like, it's so changed.
A lot of brokers are what's the word? Just sleeping on AI.
Well, I was about to say, there was that lady, Dan, who jumped on maybe like 4 or 5 weeks ago. She genuinely didn't know what ChatGPT was. And we were just like, and she was like, and I was like, but the great thing is, because you don't know, anything you do now,
it's going to be like,
it's going to be a game changer. Like, because you've got nothing.
It opened the door. Like, I remember with ChatGPT, like, to put in, like a lot has changed since I started. I mean, I've been doing content now for like 8 years. When I put this in perspective, when I first started making videos, we know we needed subtitles because we've always needed subtitles. Subtitles, they didn't exist. You couldn't do them on the mobile phone. So I would subtitle my videos. Only reason they were a minute long is because it would take me an hour and a half to write the bloody subtitles on my phone. So I would I'd do the video, and then I would write them. Pause that word. Pause that word. Like, it was just horrendous. But at the same time, it's what makes me appreciate where we've gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is, and this kind of plays into a lot of stuff. I'm noticing this with my kids. It's that instant gratification, isn't it? It's like, when's the last time they actually have to work hard for something?
Yes.
And again, for people watching this back now, if you're struggling with your fees or struggling with something here, like, if you genuinely feel that you're not working hard enough, and that's why you maybe don't want to charge more money, then maybe that might be the case. But we do live in a world now where people struggle because they don't actually have to work hard, you know, and then when they do have to work hard, and then they do have to put the work in, they do actually have to, I mean, we've had it on these calls for years. I've paid you the money. Surely I should just be successful now.
Yeah.
Now I've opened the door. You actually have to do the work now.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Are you kidding me? Surely when I just pay the money, that means I'm going to be successful. It's like, no, that's basically just getting started. Now you've actually got to work hard.
Oh, you have to.
Actually, in terms of like the time that it saves, like what you talked about, like an example of what we've done in terms of the strategy, in terms of like market research. We've done this same strategy. When obviously it used to be New Age Advisor, we've now got it in this new kind of platform in terms of high net worth deals, we call it. But that market research side, we used to get firms and advisors to go out and put posts in social media groups, speak to people to find
now you
out.
just ask it.
To find out what's going on in the market, which took months to find that, gather that information. It took time, but it's fucking there in 3 seconds now.
I was speaking at an event. Like in-person event, maybe a month ago, I think it was. And they were talking about this, and it was how to it came up and they said, like, what to talk about. And I said, one of the things I do, and I use it every single day. And one of the things I do is every call. So last year I did 1,179 one-to-one coaching calls last year. It was like a mad thing, and they're all recorded with Fathom because of you, because you're the one that recommended Fathom to me. So you'll get this. Every time I do a coaching call and I think it's good, like a good one, or I do a discovery call, more importantly, a discovery call, but a coaching call as well. But let's say a discovery call. I do a discovery call and it's a good one and they sign up. I put them in and I go, write me, this client said yes to what I want to do. Write me an ideal client avatar profile from this client. Tell me what you think about them, the age, the gen, everything about them, and give me 10 to 15 questions that you think they would want to know the answers to for my content. And they'll pump out this, and I save these, and then they go into my custom GPT as a list of these, and they get named, like give it a random name, and they'd be like client 1, client 2, and there's about 10 different ones, and it starts to give more data. I do the same when it's a bad client. So I said this before, I said this in this thing in the speech. I said, if I don't like someone, and it's not that I don't like, but if it didn't go well, it wasn't gelling, it was a bad thing, I will put it in and go, this was a really bad client interaction, a really bad discovery call. I do not want clients like this. Write me an avatar for this, and write me all the content I should write, questions I should do to repel these people.
Yeah, so don't get those people.
And you can do that as well in terms of like uploading transcripts and saying, give me sales tips on what I can improve over all these sales calls, and it'll just be like a sales coach, basically a sales consultant, and just give you really nuanced, detailed information based on the actual transcripts of the call.
The thing that I and actually one of the clients who's texted me, who's doing it, he's just bought this, is this teleprompter. Because the thing I find is the bit is trying to get the from the idea through to action is the hardest bit. And we have all of this text, but the generative, I would avoid generative, like kind of AI for brokers who are like, and they're getting like AI people who are going to do it for them and stuff. It just looks really, really bad. And I also think it's the last thing you should outsource is your actual identity video. But scripting, like I said, I don't do anything that's off the cuff now. I do everything scripted. But once I invested in a teleprompter, I think this was about 300 quid, and then the camera, you can get a camera with it, but I have cameras already. I literally can script and put it here and just record straight away. It's just like bang, do it. And that frictionless content creation, that opened it up. And I think that's what people don't realize is the AI is part of it, but you also need the hardware to maximize the true benefit of what you're making from it.
But again, going back to what I mentioned about brokers sleeping on it, I think because I did it yesterday, I'd got a letter through from my mortgage company because my mortgage is up for renewal at the end of July, I think it is. And I'd got a text off my broker the day before as well, asking to book in for an appointment.
Yeah.
But I just went on to, I'll show you now, see if we can see it. I went on to Claude and just typed in there, act like an experienced expert mortgage advisor with 20 years experience and help me find my best deal to remortgage my current deal. And so I've gone through this conversation and asking it. So it's asking me, saying, I'd be happy to help you find the best mortgage deal with my experience, with my expertise as a mortgage advisor. I'll need some specific information. So it's asking me questions like details about current mortgage, the value of the property, income and employment status, your credit score, any specific goals in terms of remortgaging, lower repayment, short-term releasing equity, your timeline for remortgaging. So I've obviously got all this information on that letter, so it's there straight away. So I've just fed it through all that information, and then it's just giving me the deals, saying thanks. These are some personalized remortgage advice, and it's given me it's given me back my details of what I've sent just to confirm it, and then it's actually searching the market and saying nationwide, Halifax, NatWest. So it's just kind of in literally it took me what 5 seconds. It's just there. So brokers need to be, I think, on guard with the fact that you can just do. Obviously, that is just a remortgage, and it's just a generic kind of vanilla thing. But that's just done. Obviously, I am going to use my broker because I know him and I like him, and he's going to get a commission out of it, and I won't just take on what it's done. But it's pretty much done what he's going to do, to be fair.
Yeah, no, it can do a lot. It's crazy what it can do. I think it's the only thing you have in FS is because it's so regulated, it will be slower to update it to uptake than it will be for everything else. I know it obviously still is getting uptaken, but like compared to unregulated industries, there's a bit more red tape that needs to be crossed.
I think the main thing that brokers are going to be untouchable in terms of AI is, like, again, specializing and being nuanced and offering tailored, specific, specialized advice, which AI is going to be a lot harder to do when it's different. Like we talked about, different, like in terms a lot of stuff we help people with is like high net worth stuff who've got a lot of complex income and stuff that AI is going to be difficult for them to find those kind of nuanced lenders, I think.
No, I agree. No, it will be. It's an interesting one. I do think it's both of them are interesting spaces. Is there anything else you guys want to cover?
No, I think that's it. I think I need a piss. So I think we'll
very professional, that one.
As always, you know me, Ash.
End it at the end, just like that.
We used to start the calls with all the bullshit, didn't we?
Yeah, now we don't.
I don't think anyone will stay this long anyway. We'll be fed up.
The retention on long videos is crazy. Like it's, I even see it on mine. Average retention on a even on a 30-minute video is like 9-10 minutes. I mean, it's different with a podcast, but but like on a video, that's good though. Like that's good. Like 9-10 minutes is a really good retention. Like I'd be happy with that. You just need enough for them to remember you, and then that's it. You don't need anything else.
Comes back to touch points, doesn't it?
When was the last time you finished a bloody Diary of a CEO podcast? They get longer and longer and longer. And
all you do is actually just speed up how quickly you listen to it.
And you know what's funny with that is they say that and I read this and it's true. And I'm like an anxious person anyway. So then when you listen to things on like higher speed, it actually hypes up your anxiety more.
Have you then tried to? So I did. I thought, and I'll kind of finish with this. I'm listening to an Eckhart Tolle one, a book, and it's specifically talking about the space between everything. So the words, the noise. But if you're listening to it at 1.75, there is no
there's
space.
none. It's just
I've had to take it all back out. And it literally sounds
like that.
Speaking.
And the problem is with that, I had it with mine. So I edit everything at 3 times speed. So when I do stuff, I edit every video I make at 3 times speed because it's just so much faster. Because if I'm doing it, so anything I do, if I've got a 1-minute video, I can get it done. It's like super fast because because it's scripted, I know what I'm saying and I'm on Descript. I can see the words where it's doubled up. I just have it. And I do it. The problem is I then everything I say, I then also speed it up. So it's like 1 times, and I'll do like 1.05 times or 1.1 times. And it's a little bit like a drug that because my brain can listen at 3 times speed at this point. I'm like 1.1, that sounds fine. 1.2, that sounds fine. And then I had a couple of days off and listened back to one of my videos and I was like, and I thought, oh my God.
Nobody's getting this.
I was like, that's like quite, because I'm just thinking shorter watch time retention, shorter. And at the end, I was like, that's probably not great. Like that's good. So you do end up getting caught out.
No, absolutely.
All good. You need to go to your piss.
Oh, good.
That has been great.
Yeah, it's been good to catch up.
Yeah,
really good.
Appreciate it, gents.
See you later, guys.
Have a good one, guys. Take it easy, man.
Bye.